David, this is where the magic happens with these Bugattis. How did you come to get so involved in the restoration of these remarkable vehicles?
I guess I was born into it. My dad collected cars ever since I can remember. It started with a 1950 MGTD, and from that, Dad started working on cars and collecting cars and trading up and going back and forth. And he really enjoyed the exotic cars. Bugatti is one, Alfa Romeo is another, Duesenberg is another. A smattering of a little bit of everything. And then when I got out of college, I knew I wanted to come back to Easton.
Right.
Who wouldn't want to come back to Easton?
Right.
But I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so we bought a bunch of Bugatti parts from a guy in Florida, and I built Bugattis in the basement of our house on Harrison Street. They were all real Bugatti parts. And some of them ended up in, one car ended in Japan, another in Belgium, another in England, one in Ohio. And that was all in a period of a couple years. What we were selling was dreams. Sure. They were not finished products. They were beautiful, and they were rolling sculpture, and the next person could see the end, and that's what they wanted.
So we're standing here in the center of Easton, in a place probably most people have never seen, but we're looking at a beautiful, I believe, original Bugatti?
Yeah, this is Bugatti 1926, so it's almost 100 years old. This is one of 4 Bugatti factory race cars. Bugatti sold cars to individuals who wanted to campaign them, but also Bugatti campaigned their own team. And this is one of the team cars from the 1927 Grand Prix circuit. It was only a 1-year run. The cars then went on to have other lives. They didn't continue as race cars, and this car went back to the factory and was converted to road use. So it had fenders put on it, and headlights, and windscreens, and a horn, and electric starter. And so this was, I guess you could call this was a Playboy's car.
So when it raced, what kind of top speed are we talking about?
You're approaching 100.
Really?
Yeah, you really are.
Wow.
So it had a short-lived career, and that's why it survives today.
Now, did you have a lot of restoration work to do?
We got this car in 1969.
Okay.
I was still in grammar school, and I remember it arrived in December in a snowstorm on the back of a rollback truck. It was full of snow.
Wow.
It had been in a fire. The engine had been rebuilt in France by Bugatti in the 60s. Bugatti still had a small shop where they were still doing maintenance work. And it came over to the States. Somehow or other, in attempting to start the fresh engine, the tail caught on fire, and the owner gave up. And Dad acquired it, and we started a restoration. The body was blue, as Bugattis. The Bugatti family is Italian, but the cars were made in France, so they're considered French. And French racing blue is the color. But the body was in such good shape that when we stripped it, we thought, gee, what a shame to cover up all that beautiful aluminum and handwork. So we ended up polishing it, which is appealing to our eye, but a purist might not.
So now, speaking of a blue Bugatti, clearly it's a vehicle for all ages. Tell us about this version.
That car is 100 years old.
Is it really?
It was built by the Bugatti factory. It was built for children of the elite. This particular car was in the Buenos Aires Zoo. You could, they had a fleet of about a dozen of these, and you could go to the zoo and take your child and pay your extra shekel, and he or she could ride it around. It's electric, very appropriate for today. It runs, it's delightful. You have to be about 4 years old to fit. If you become 5, you're a little too big for it.
Well, now, I want to ask you, because the community is so excited about the Academy Art Museum and this Bugatti show that's going to open pretty soon. What should people expect to see at that? And what will they learn from it, do you think?
It's really fascinating. It's not about Bugatti cars. It's about the Bugatti family.
Okay.
They were a family of artists. It began with Carlo, who was born in about 1881. He was a trained architect, but preferred working with wood and silver. And so he built furniture, very Art Nouveau, and jewelry. And then he had a son about when he was 25, Ettore. And Ettore, it was assumed, would follow in his father's footsteps, but he had some mechanical inclinations. And so he got shipped out to a company that built sewing machines and bicycles.
Wow.
And so he worked there for a while, and then he decided he would make a motorized tricycle, which he did and raced it. And then from then on, he just kept going and growing. Ettore had a younger brother, 3 years younger, Rembrandt. Rembrandt was an incredible sculptor, did beautiful work in bronzes, spent time in the zoos in Paris and Antwerp, and studied the animals. And there will be, I think, 8 bronzes from a private collection that will be there. They are incredible. It's a celebration of Carlo's furniture, some art, his son Ettore's cars, and then Ettore had a son, Jean, and Jean was incredible eye, and he had some beautiful designs. And one of the cars in the exhibit is a design of Jean. Even people who don't appreciate or aren't interested in cars, I think they will find them interesting from a design aspect or the type of materials. There's a lot of leather used, aluminum, steel, rubber, and the textile portion of it is fascinating.
Sure.
Now, if you want to look at the back of a wheel, this is a front backing plate to the last version of Grand Prix cars that they built. And this would be the air intake to cool the brakes. This is the air exit. The casting, the fin work to make it strong is incredible from an engineering standpoint, from an art standpoint.
Right.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we love about Bugattis. The front axle, the spring doesn't go above it or below it, it goes through it. And the axle's hollow to save weight.
The Academy Art Museum has a knack for bringing families and people of all ages into that museum, so maybe you'll have some additional help
That'd be lovely.
in the months ahead.
That would be lovely.
David, thank you for taking some
Thank
time
you,
with us.
Craig.
I know you're